Ew.
I can't see your face yet, dude.
Well, wait, hold on. Let me get my life right. Let me get my
Need
life right.
need to see your
Okay.
face. Oh my
I know.
goodness. I haven't seen you in so
Just get.
long.
I know. Hold on a second. Let me get my life right. Okay, there we go. All right, there we go. Hold on, Kathy. How you doing?
Bob, how are you?
I'm better now. Good to see you.
Just seeing your face warms my heart, sir.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too.
Do you want me to do this way
That
or
was fine.
horizontal?
No, you're fine.
Yeah?
You're good.
Okay, okay.
I'm
All right.
only for this. I'm only using clippets of the video if I do use it, but it's mostly
Okay.
just audio, so no big deal.
Oh, word. Okay. All
Yeah,
right, because it's a podcast. Duh,
yeah.
duh. Yeah. I forget.
It's okay.
What's good with you? Where
Can
you
we
at?
kiki? Can we kiki first and then do this? How are you? Where are you back in? Are you back in the Bronx?
Oh, in Brooklyn. I moved.
Oh,
I lived in Harlem for 14 years, and then
yeah, you did.
we jumped up and boogied to DC.
Right, I remember, and I know
But
you came back, but
but didn't last like even 12 months there.
okay,
And then we've been in Brooklyn for like almost 3.5 years now. So
okay, nice.
um, yeah, I love BK. Still have my heart uptown.
Yeah,
When I go visit, and it's like it just feels like home.
hmm,
But BK's feeling like home too.
nice.
I can't. When it be like, is Brooklyn in the house? I can't yet be like, yeah.
You'll never
I
be
feel like
like.
I gotta live here at least for 10 years before I could officially be like, yeah, Brooklyn. Like,
Oh.
yeah, you only been in 3 years, yo, Brooklyn.
How's the son?
He's good. Yeah, he's had some difficulties, with being kind to himself some days and being kind to others. But overall, he's a bundle of joy and he's crazy smart and
And this
he's
hasn't been easy on them either, right? The whole
sure, yeah, but he was
struggling.
having issues even before the pandemic.
Mm,
So
yeah.
but we loving him. We
Yeah.
giving him the
Life's
support that he
good.
needs. Yeah,
Life's
yeah,
good,
yeah. What's up
healthy.
with you, man? What's up with you?
Ooh, I was in the States when everything happened with the pandemic, and then
Oh shit.
I moved back home. I was like,
Word.
I'm out because I get universal health care that way. So
Word.
so I'm
Yeah,
going
yeah, yeah.
up.
Big move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in
Smart
Toronto,
move.
yeah, for the whole time, and then now I'm just in I've been in LA for the last 6 weeks
Oh, word?
doing some stuff out here. And then I go back to Toronto end of this month. So, yeah,
Wow.
can't complain, man.
When you went to LA when like LA is like the belly of the beast again. Like,
When I got here, everything was good. And then,
because you've been there 6 weeks. True, true,
yeah, I
true.
got
Yeah.
here
Like
top
it,
of
it
July.
shifted.
Everything was good. And then, but that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like with COVID, it's like you just don't know. Like you could
Yeah.
be safe one minute and not the next. And
No doubt.
I was in the belly because I was in Toronto. And we were struggling with it for
Oh, word?
part of this year. Yeah, we've been in lockdown since from November, honestly, off and on till June, and that's why I was like, I need a break.
Oh shit. I
Yeah,
didn't even know that.
yeah,
I didn't even know that. And the US is letting, 'cause I heard like the Canada's not letting US residents
they,
in.
yeah, they say that, yet I don't
Uh,
care.
yeah, I got you.
They're
Yeah, yeah,
not, they're not as serious as we think
yeah.
they are about it. I think
Right.
it's more of a deterrent. But I was like, I've got work, I've got to do
Yeah.
X, Y, and D, and they were like, all right, I'm
Word.
and also fully vaccinated and all of that. So
Sure,
and I took
sure.
my COVID test before I came. Like I did all the steps, and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, have a good time working. I was like, thanks.
Word. And what you working on? Dance stuff?
Remotely, no. I haven't been dancing for a minute.
Mm.
Mostly like creative production stuff, and
Oh, word.
kind of where I went back to school, got a post grad in arts admin and cultural management. I was with Cirque for the last couple years.
I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, doing mostly, creative direction and artistic direction
Oh,
and
word.
production. Yeah, so
Oh,
that's
word.
kind of where I've been. That's actually when we saw each other in DC for the Hip Hop Festival. That's why I was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been
Okay.
doing that. So it's my mentor lives out here, and so he has some work coming up. So
Mm-hmm.
we're figuring all that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, and then just I'm working for a film festival, doing some project management stuff for that in Toronto, but I'm doing it remotely. So I'm out here still working for them and doing what I need to do out here, and the
Uh,
hustle, the usual.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I'm
Cool.
happy, I'm safe. My parents are
Yeah.
safe. My family's good. So,
Word. Word.
yeah. So,
Amaze balls.
but I know we could talk forever. So I'm going to
Yeah,
say,
of course.
Bobbito, thank you so much for coming on and doing this lovely thing with me.
I got you. I'm hearing my voice on your side. Do you want to
Are
wear
you?
headphones so it
Oh,
doesn't
no. That
bounce?
sucks. Uh, where are my headphones?
Otherwise I feel self-conscious.
Do you? Let's see.
Just hearing my own echo is just like weird, you
Yeah, I'm
know.
trying to. Let me just see. Hold on. Stand by. I'm gonna see
Hmm.
if I can get my where did I put my headphones? I'll be back. Where are they? B, I'm coming. I just don't know where you are.
Where are you? Is that your crib?
Oh God, no! This is my best friend's crib.
Okay.
I know it's nice, right? Actually,
I
her.
don't know. I don't know if it.
You remember Rachel? She used to come to APT all the time with me. Redhead, white.
I think so.
If you
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
her,
yeah,
you'd be
yeah.
like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
No
Um,
doubt.
where
Okay, well,
is
I'm
my?
glad you're still cool with her.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, all those girls that I came to APT with, like friendships,
Hmm.
20 years strong. Like,
Word.
yeah.
So,
Where is? Yeah, I'm sorry, because it's like the not the new earphones, it's the old ones.
hmm.
Hold on, I don't know where I put that. Oh, hello. Oh, fine. Aha! Yes. Who had them? I have like 18 of the other ones. And only one of these ones. I'm like, come on. I have them somewhere. All
And
right.
when did you start the podcast?
When did I, sorry?
When did you start a podcast?
It was one of my like I need inspirational COVID moments.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so had a long talk with one of my friends. Actually, I was going to write a book. I was going to interview all of y'all and just write a book. And she was like, "Why not just do a podcast?" And I was like, "That's not a bad idea." And
Mm.
so I started it in December, recording in December, but I released it in July.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You've gotten good feedback?
yeah, so far, yeah, people are loving
Dope.
it and inspired, and it's kind of um, because the topic's all about like the journey of. Let me put my earphones in and we can see.
Mhm.
Good now? Is this good?
Yeah, 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 yeah. 1 2 1 2. Yeah, I don't hear myself anymore.
Okay, cool.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so because the podcast is all about people's journeys and the celebrating the individuals that helped you get there,
Hmm.
it's kind of timeless. It doesn't require me to be
Yeah, no doubt.
up on like political stuff or because there's just a ton of podcasts out there and
Hmm.
I just wanted to highlight inspirational stories of people who've had unconventional careers like yourself and have just like keep hustling and making it and doing it and the people
Yeah.
that surrounded you and supported you through that process. So that's
Cool.
really the deal. Yeah.
All right.
Babito! It's so good to
What
see your
up?
face.
Big up to the T dot. T dot O dot. Er.
It's so good. When's the last time you've been to Toronto?
man, it's like I feel like there's, you know, how like, there's AD and BC. It's like
Right.
pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. I haven't traveled in 17 months, and so a lot of my travel in the last 10 years all seems like a blur and seems like a long time ago.
Right.
Um, However, I do a tournament called Full Court 21 uh, at uh, started in 2013, and in 2015 I took it global and have since have done it in 30 plus international cities.
Amazing.
And one of them has been that's been steady has been Toronto, but I've also done the qualifiers in Montreal, Vancouver, Halifax, and Edmonton. So I've been up to the qualifier in Toronto twice,
Nice.
and the last time I think I was up there was maybe 2017 for it, and it was a ball. It was just so good to be right there at the Harborfront Center.
Center? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Nice.
right on the water. Actually, I
Nice.
flew into the island airport,
Yeah.
and then like I just crossed the ferry and like the court was right there. I was like, "Word, all right, cool, let's ball out. I'm ready." And I
That's
had my
awesome.
bags. I didn't even go to the hotel. I just went straight to the court.
Right.
But I got a lot of love for Canada. I got a lot of love for Toronto. I got a lot of love for you in
Oh, thank you.
particular. So it's always a blessing to talk to you.
Well,
Um,
well, let's start there because basketball for you is like a first love, like dance is for me. So,
yeah,
talk to me
yeah,
about how you approach working and starting those NGOs and those initiatives, and who helped you spearhead those
yeah.
initiatives.
Well, what it, hmm, uh, you know, Full Court 21 in particular has been uh, a labor of love at first, whereby I had this concept that the game of 21 was the most inclusive competition that you could participate in New York City. And yet, like, no one had presented it in an organized context. And so a lot of my ideas as an entrepreneur have always been, or as a community, um, organizer, have always been like, there's a void, let me fill it. What's missing?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started Full Court 21 2013, it was really like hyper local, and empowering the participants to have a place to play where they could get the experience of an authentic New York tournament, but not be locked out the way they would if they went to Rucker Park or West Fourth, where you got to be part of a team or you got to be 6'9". But if you're 5'9" and you're in town for Toronto and you like want to play pickup, you could do that. But if you want to like play underneath the whistle with an announcer, it's not much you can do. And so I was able to change that by doing Full Court 21, and
Nice.
I saw like all these international players registering, the first 2 years I did it, 2013, 2014. So then the light bulb went in my head. I was like, well, why don't I extend what I've created here to the rest of the world? And so I partnered with a number of local organizers. Will Strickland is my
Yeah.
director of operations for Canada, and has done a wonderful job. He's based in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
but he's done a wonderful job of creating these qualifiers in 5 cities in Canada since 2015. My local organizer in Japan did it in 15 cities in his country back in
Wow.
2019. Yeah. And so, in process, 2019 was our biggest year. We had about 2,000 kids play.
Mm-hmm.
The championship is in New York,
Mm-hmm.
at Rocksteady Park, which is
Oh, amazing.
famous
Yeah.
for hip hop as well as for basketball. And in the basketball community, it's known as the GOAT, named after Earl Manigault, playground legend.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Kathy, realistically, it was a lot of goodwill, a lot of tinkering of a concept until it could be created as a blueprint, for others to uh, utilize. Because some of my local organizers, for example, in Hong Kong or in Bamako, Mali, had never done a tournament before.
Right.
So like, I'm not just empowering people to play ball in an organized context that's inclusive globally. I'm also empowering local organizers to be like, oh wow, like I didn't really know how to do this. I didn't think I could do this, but here I am bringing people together to play ball, um, and with the opportunity to possibly go to New York. So it's really been a beautiful process, and I'm very proud of it. It was featured on ESPN,
Yeah.
a show called Sneaker Center, which I shamelessly directed. So I was like, "Yo, we
Not
gotta do a
shameless.
segment on, yeah, yeah, we gotta do a segment on Full Court 21." But I also had uh, uh, a scene in my last film, Rock Rubber 45s, which you were interviewed and a wonderful
I
talking
was.
head for. So I had a scene in Rock Rubber 45s about Full Court 21,
Mm-hmm.
which really tied the film all together because in the beginning of the film, you get to learn about my love for my father, and
Mm-hmm.
then you learn about my love and my passion for basketball,
Yeah.
and then you see me like travel through, different highs and lows through my career, and then it's like towards the end, it's like the last thing that happens in the film is that like I'm back in the neighborhood that raised me, in the very court that I first played in, and I'm doing this tournament for kids, and for adults, and it's just like it's
Full
not like
circle.
spelled out. It's full circle, but it's not spelled out. But if you watch it and you figure it out, you're like, oh shit, like he's right. He never left.
Yeah.
He
It's
never
beautiful.
left.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
Did you have any mentors through your basketball years that really helped shape this, especially this journey you've
Yeah,
been living?
absolutely. I've had multiple ones. And I give all praise due to my father for first putting a ball in my hands. My two brothers, Ray and Bill, both older than me, who, um, really were embedded in New York City playground culture and sort of gave me the lob to like run with it as, because I looked up to them. So naturally, I, want to um, emulate what they were doing, and then I wound up taking it like a lot of steps further than them because they both stopped playing, and I just kept on going further and further and further with it. Earl Manigault is another mentor. He is a was a playground legend. He passed away in 1997, but he was a fixture in the playground that I grew up in, and made it a point to really give back to all of us. He was a fallen angel. He was a heroin addict
Oh,
who
I
wound
did
up
know
getting
that.
incarcerated and never really fully realized his potential as a ball player. So he created this tournament in the 1970s called Walk Away from Drugs.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and he brought it to the GOAT. Well, we were calling it the GOAT before it was officially called the GOAT by New York City Parks and Recreation. Um, and it was influential. It was influential. And when I started my tournament in 2013, I couldn't get the permit to have the tournament at the GOAT, but eventually by 2016, I was able to move it there. And since I've held it there, which has been, again, like full circle, so and I've had a lot of other mentors along the way, but those are like the early pillars.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been able to, you know, play that role for a lot of people globally at the same time. And it's funny, like I look back at when I was 14, I was in a basketball summer day camp, and I wrote out a 10-year projection. This is 1981.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and one of the things I wrote was that I want to be a community organizer, 10 years down the road. And I want to like be, you
At
know,
14? You wrote that at 14? Oh.
yeah, straight up. I
Oh,
started
I
coaching
love it.
basketball when I was 15.
Oh,
It's
I love it.
crazy. It's crazy how, like, people have no idea. Like, I became a DJ, I became known around the world for music, but it's like, basketball, like as you said, is your primary for dance is your primary. Like basketball is was like my primary stepping
Mm-hmm.
stone into
Mm-hmm.
this, crazy world that I've been able to create for myself.
That's
So
incredible. Well,
yeah,
speaking of that, why DJing? Like, where did your love for music start, and why DJing?
well, it goes back to my father, and I talk about this a lot in
In
my
the
film
film,
Rock Over
yeah.
45s, which is an autobiographical documentary. I had the idea to write a book, similar to you were telling me earlier, you were going to write a book.
Yeah.
It's a big undertaking. My first attempt at authoring a book was published, and there was a lot of autobiographical material in the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
It's titled "Where'd You Get Those? New York City Sneaker Culture, 1960 to 1987."
Yes, we will touch on
Um,
that.
it's still in publication.
Yeah.
Six printings later, seven printings later. I'm proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, my father was a Latin jazz musician, so I was surrounded by music growing up
Mm-hmm.
in the crib, and didn't mean that I was going to become a musician. Didn't mean that I was going to seek out being involved in music or uh, uh, having a foothold in the music industry, which I eventually wound up doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of found me, you know, and I made decisions in my life to put myself in a position to symbiotically, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, walk that path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was playing pro ball in Puerto Rico in 1987, and in 1988, after graduating from college, I decided not to go back. I made the decision to come back to New York instead, um, not really knowing what was going to come of that. But I want to work with the Def Jam, and then I wound up meeting Stretch.
Mm-hmm.
He offered me a position as his radio host on WKCR 89.9 FM. We wound up having like 300 unsigned artists in 8 years. Some of them went on to become the biggest names in not just rap, but music, period. Jay-Z, Eminem,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Wu-Tang, Nas, and being at the radio station on a weekly basis and watching Stretch spin was very impactful. And eventually I sought to do the same. And I did, and doors started
Ah,
opening up because of
nice.
the radio show.
Right.
The radio show's popularity,
Mm-hmm.
once I started playing on a station, it was like my calling card.
Right.
So I started DJing in clubs in New York initially, and then, you know, because I was already known globally, like eventually promoters started hitting me up, and
Right.
you know, as you know, I'm very reliable. I'm easy to work with.
Yes, you are.
Um,
Very
uh,
easy people. People listening, he's the easiest to work with.
yeah, I mean, I like. I mean, I've produced events and I've managed artists, and I know what a pain in the ass that is. So
Yeah.
uh, when I became a creative myself, it was easy to transition. Well, it was never easy for me to transition to being creative. It was always easy to manage myself and create opportunities just based on the fact that, like, I will hit you back if you have an opportunity for me, and I
Mm-hmm.
will follow through with it. And if you book me, I will come to your town and crush it. Like
Yeah.
I've been on some crush
Time
kill
and
destroy
time
shit.
and time and time
Yeah,
again. Yeah, absolutely.
like I
Yeah.
remember my first gig in Toronto. Uh, Dude named Ghani. It was Milk Studios, something like that.
Okay.
And I remember showing it was like 1997, 98. I don't remember what year it was. And I showed him with a bag of 45s. And at the airport, he's like, "Where's your records?" And I'm like, "They're in my bag." He's like, "Where's your bag?" I showed him my bag of 45s. He's like, "You're gonna DJ with that?" I was like, "Yeah." Because like back then, like,
Yeah.
DJs would show up with like 3, 4 flight cases of 12 inches. I was an anomaly to show up with a bag of 45s. For me, it was purely um functional.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not strong. I'm not famous. I don't have like
You have a roadie.
homeboys carrying. Yeah, like you know, and I'm not a DJ that's trying to play what you want to hear.
No, you've always been
So
an
a lot of
educator.
DJs would bring records because they were going to have requests or oh shit, I'm playing reggae and
Mm-hmm.
and they're not feeling it. So I was a kind of cat. I would tell promoters like, yo, don't book me if your crowd is not open-minded. If they're open-minded, yo, we're gonna have the best time
Mm-hmm.
because I'm gonna come in there, I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, I'm gonna set the tone, I'm gonna set the example. And that's what drew me to DJing too, Kathy, is that, I found myself being able to influence people to open
Mm-hmm.
up to other artists, other genres, other music, other rhythms, other songs, both new and old that they may not have heard other DJs play.
Yeah.
And I wasn't gonna out DJ people technically, but I could out DJ other people soulfully and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's where I found my little piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me or tell me more about your interning story at Def Jam?
Ta, ta.
Who opened that door for you,
Um,
man?
yeah. Well, I never interned at Def Jam. It's
Not never
actually
went.
no, I never did. I started
Okay.
at Def Jam as a messenger.
Oh,
So
and worked your way up. Got it.
I worked my way up, $5 an hour messenger, who kind of volunteered myself as an intern in between errands, which I didn't have to do. I could have came back and just sat on my ass. But I was
Right.
like, oh, the legal department needs help with figuring out who sampled what sample this record is. It's like, oh, that's James Brown. Like, um the accounting department needed help. And I had experience. I had worked in for Coopers and Lybrand, an accounting firm, a big eight accounting firm for 3 years. So, I would help out the accountant, I would help out the lawyer, I would help out the marketing director, I would help out the promotions,
Mm-hmm.
which the department was very small, so it was a lot of opportunity to carve out on my own. So that's all initiative, you know.
That's
I would
incredible.
answer the receptionist would go on lunch, and I would like, you need me to answer the door, you need me to answer the phone. She's like, yeah, that'd be crazy helpful. So I started writing down messages. I
Right.
did everything. I did everything I possibly could. I wound up uh, ordering supplies for the closet, because nobody was doing it. And I see
Right.
the fax paper low, and I'm like, yo, I'll order the fax paper. It's all good. Like, so it took a lot of initiative and a lot
Right.
of power moves on my part. And luckily, Carmen Ashurst Watson, who was the president of Def Jam at the time, took quick notice. And she was like, yo, like, you're too valuable to us to be on the road, you know,
Oh.
dropping off boxes. Like, you need to be in the office every single day. And that's how I got my job. Started out as doing promotions rep. And then I wound up doing A&R because my ear was so much to the street,
Hmm.
with the college DJs and the mixtape DJs and the
Mm-hmm.
club DJs, and then my own ear. They started giving me demos to listen to, and I would have a log. I would
Right.
write down like, this demo's whack, this demo's whack. Yo, we should listen. We should take it. We should consider this demo, or we should
Right.
follow up with this artist, see what else they have. And then they would start asking like, yo, what record are the DJs around the world feeling off of this album? Yo, this should be the next single. Word? Yeah, hell yeah, this should be the next single. Trust me. Everybody's playing it off the album. Okay, cool. That's gonna be the next single. So, I had a big role in LL's career, his reemergence as an artist. I had a big role in Third Base, um, when they came out as with their debut album.
Mm.
Um, Public Enemy, I didn't have to help. Like, they were there.
They were there.
Like,
Yeah.
they were there.
They were stable.
I
Yeah.
had a big role in EPMD, and Nice and Smooth,
Right.
when they left Sleeping Bag Records and came to Rush Associated Labels, and extending. They were there already too, but I feel like what I did at Def Jam extended their reach. So, but yeah, there's a
That's
lot of stories, a lot
that's
of
great. It's
stories.
just it's important for people to hear that you put in the initiative. You didn't sit and wait for somebody to be like, "Hey, you want to do something?" It was like you tapped in quickly. That's
But Kathy,
listen.
that's always been the case.
Yeah.
That's always. always been the case. You know why I started coaching when I was 15?
No, please tell me.
Because the director of Central Baptist basketball program was a church, right?
Mm-hmm.
He saw me at every practice, first person there, last one to leave.
Mm-hmm.
He saw me knocking on his door, like, "Yo, when can I have access to the gym when nobody's in there?"
Mm-hmm.
He saw me at the basketball camp, you know, doing the drills, first one in the gym, last one to leave, you know, everyone's back in the dorm. I'm outdoors practicing. Like he saw my passion. It's so ridiculous
Mm-hmm.
that when I was 15, he asked me to coach the 11 and under squad. Um, and
Because you're a
yeah, I
great role
mean,
model. He saw the role
at,
model
at,
you were.
at
Yeah.
15, I didn't know that,
Yeah.
and he's another mentor, Pastor Don, who I rarely mention, but yeah, I mean, he saw something in me at an early age, and so yes, I've always had initiative. It's like people, you need someone in a position to recognize your passion, and then able to be able to facilitate it. But anytime people have given me those opportunities, like I said, like I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna crush it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna half step. I'm gonna crush.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. That's such an important lesson because I feel like a lot of people wait around. Even during this time, people were waiting around for the world to come back. And it's like,
Yeah,
you got to keep
yeah,
moving. You got to keep moving.
yeah. Bob and weave. I've been lucky
Yeah.
to be creative in my freelance career since
Mm-hmm.
93. So I'm coming up on 30 years of freelance.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made a lot of career pivots, and
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to create my own good luck in a lot of instances and a
Yeah.
lot of different industries as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So after the Stretch and Bob radio show, right? After that radio show finished, what, in 98? Am I right with that? In
Well,
98?
me and Stretch parted ways in 1998, but I
Yeah.
continued on WKCR until 2002. I did
Okay.
12 years of the worst imaginable time slot possible. It was Thursday nights from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. When most people in the world are asleep.
Yes.
But I somehow made that volunteer 12 years have a lot of longevity
Yeah.
and connective tissue to a lot of other opportunities.
Did is there one particular opportunity you feel that that radio show really opened that door for you?
I mean, as I mentioned earlier, like if it wasn't for the radio show, I wouldn't have started DJing, you
Okay,
know.
so it was
But allow me to mention, and I'll say this often, this is detailed in a scene in my film, Rock
mm-hmm.
Rubber 45s, which I highly encourage. If anyone's
Everybody
listening to,
needs to watch that
yeah, if you're listening
film.
to this and you're feeling any type of inspiration, you need to
Yeah,
see that film,
yeah,
like real talk.
yeah.
But yeah, I met Rich Medina when he was at Cornell in the early 90s because he was playing ball with a childhood buddy of mine, Mike Parker. And they were teammates, and I would go visit uh my homeboy, and then they were living in the same dorm room, and
Mm-hmm.
and Rich and I hit it off immediately. And you know, when when we reconnected, it was on the spoken word scene actually, initially, and then he had been DJing all along. I didn't really know him as a DJ when he was at Cornell, but by the mid '90s, and then towards the late '90s, like he was full fledged like DJing in Philly and
Mm-hmm.
crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he like Stretch was the one who inspired me, but Rich was really the one who was like, yo, like you got all these fucking records in your crib, like you got a radio show, why aren't you spinning? You know
Mm-hmm.
and he taught me a couple of things, very fundamental beginner stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to run with it.
Yeah,
um
because of your
and
discipline
so
too, though. Like that takes.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
But yeah, so Rich, Stretch, without the two of them, it's like I don't start DJing. I just remain a host.
right, right.
And a good one at that.
Yeah,
I excelled at um, being a radio host and an event host,
Mm-hmm.
and um, you know, I I I really enjoyed like making people feel comfortable, welcomed, pushing people to give their very best performance,
Mm-hmm.
um, and keeping peace when things got hairy, which happened often in the 90s. So, you know, there was a lot of skills involved to be a host in that era
Mm-hmm.
in, you know, the rough and tumble hip hop culture. And I
Right.
survived it, thankfully.
Right.
But, you know, that helped me out with DJing too.
Nice. So talk to me about Vibe magazine and that foray into writing for them and interviewing all these legends. Who opened that door for that opportunity?
Well, that opportunity actually comes from the radio show too. The radio show
Ah,
is really a launching pad for all the artists who came through, but for me and Stretch as well.
right.
So Mimi Valdez was me and Stretch's homegirl. I mean, she was really my homegirl. I'm the one who brought her up to the station, and you know, she became super cool with Stretch, and then it
Mm-hmm.
was just like we were all like mutual friends. Um, but yeah, I mean, she used to open the door for us when artists would show up. You know, sometimes she would answer the phone calls. She was just
Mm-hmm.
up there because she was supreme hip hop head like the rest of us. And you know, she graduated from NYU, and then she started working for Vibe. You know,
Yeah.
she was the front of the book editor, and she was the one who approached me about starting a column because she knew that I could make artists feel comfortable. She knew they had musical knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and then my column, Bobbito uh, plays the tracks. You know,
It was such a good column. Listen, it
Isaac
was such
Hayes
a good column.
states
Oh.
the facts. Yeah, I interviewed Michael Jordan, Kevin
Everybody.
Garnett, Rosie Perez, you know, Simon Le Bon, Billy Idol, Tony Bennett. Uh,
All the legends.
yeah,
All
I
the
mean,
legends,
you
man.
know,
Like,
forget about it. Like some really big name: Isaac
yeah.
Hayes, Bill Sky Heron,
Yeah.
Rosie Perez,
Yeah.
Q-Tip, uh, you know, Crazy Legs, uh,
How long?
Stretch.
How long were you
Um,
at Vibe for?
I did that gig for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it ran its course, you know, I moved on
Yeah.
from it. But it was fun. It was fun while it lasted,
It
you
was a
know.
great column. I
Thank you.
Vibe will always be one of my favorite industry magazines, and your column was. I remember when discovered we were friends before I discovered that you did the column. Like it didn't connect for me, and then I remember when it
Word.
connected, and I was
Oh,
like,
that's
wait,
funny.
what?
Yeah, yeah.
It was a
Yo,
great.
you want to hear something funny? There was a TV show in Canada called Vibe. You remember it? It was on music,
Much music?
much music. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And there was a woman who was the host, and she asked me to DJ on the show one day as a guest, and yeah, and then like she just talked to me about my Vibe magazine column, and because we had a lot of readers in Canada,
Yeah, there was
and you know
tons of
what,
us.
we had a lot of readers in South Africa, and that's one of the reasons why I got booked, and I became the first U.S. hip hop DJ to ever perform in post-apartheid South Africa, in 2000. That story is detailed in my film Rock Over 45s as well. But you know, I'm thankful to Vibe. Vibe
Yeah,
was huge in Japan too. Vibe helped me extend my brand in
yeah.
multiple countries throughout the world. You know, it's kind of cool.
It was it was a good brand, and it's still a good
Yeah,
brand. It's a good brand.
thank you, thank
Um,
you.
all right. I have we
What
touched
are you
on
gonna
it.
ask me?
We
What are you
could.
gonna ask me about me and Stretch's album?
Hold on, it's coming. It's coming.
I'll wait. I'm waiting for
It's
that. I'm waiting for
coming.
that.
It's coming.
All right.
So listen, your passion for sneakers is unmatched. Like I've met a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sneakerheads. Yours, it's unmatched. So
Nah,
I
I
want
wouldn't say that.
really
I would,
because I feel like
yeah,
it's.
I would deny that. I, I'm a historian,
Yeah.
you know, I'm an author. I'm someone who has designed and
I know.
collaborated with a number of brands, Prokeds,
Yeah.
Piola, Puma,
Yeah.
Nike,
Nike.
Adidas,
Yeah.
K1X. There's early discussion now of me collabing with a German brand called A Few Goods.
Okay.
They're like they just launched their first model this month, and it sold out immediately. But they're tiny. They're the sneaker shop, and now
Mm-hmm.
they're manufacturing sneakers, which I think is a
Mm-hmm.
great move for them because they're really sincere about it. But
Yeah.
ultimately, so I play a lot of roles, in the sneaker space.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say I'm as passionate about it as I was, 30 years ago.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't eat, sleep, drink, shit, sneakers anymore.
But you
Yeah, I mean,
did. That's why you
I
could write your
did.
book.
I did. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
wrote a book about it,
Yeah. I
But
mean,
but the first line of my book is I am a reformed sneaker addict. It's
it
the first
is.
line.
You're
First line.
right. You're
So
right. I
that's
learned
it.
so much from reading that book because I don't.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because it was one of those books that I didn't understand the depth of the culture, right? Because I was removed from it in a certain way.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand it, and so and for y'all, it's called "Where Did You Get Those?" By the way, it's about sneaker culture.
It's
You need
not
to
it's
get the
not
book.
where did you get those? It's called where you get
Where,
those.
there we go.
Apostrophe
Stand
P.
stand
The
corrected.
New York City sneaker culture,
Yeah.
1960, 1987. But Kathy, um, truthfully, you could have been in the thick of sneaker culture for your generation and still missed what happened in the 60s and 70s because you weren't alive. You know,
Correct.
um, so when I wrote the book, one of my goals was to document this beautiful and timeless period that sort of predates, but also completely informs
Hmm.
and lays the foundation for what becomes the modern day sneaker movement, which a lot of people, I was like infuriated 20 years ago. I was reading all these mainstream articles, and they were like, "Oh, this new sneaker craze." It's like, nah, dude, like it's not
Hmm.
new. You're
Hmm.
just not up on it. Like, so let me
Hmm.
write this book, and then you can, you know, acknowledge the fact that there's particularly people of color with a lack of resources, similar to what happened in hip hop, that created this beast that everyone is profiting off of, you know?
Correct. Correct.
So I wanted the record to be straight.
Yeah. And when you decided to write that book, did you have um, a publisher or did someone come to you and say, hey, we love this book? Like, how did that process go about? Because that's not,
Yeah,
writing a book's not an easy process, let
no, it's
alone
not.
getting it
I mean,
published.
going back to mentorships, right?
Yeah.
So, I wrote an article for the Source magazine that was published in May of 1991.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out it was the first article on sneaker culture in media history, right? It was titled Confessions of a Sneaker Addict. So that's why in the first line of my book, which came out in 2003, like 13 years later, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
I am a reformed sneaker addict, right? Because there
Mm-hmm.
was there was a departure from how I felt as a 25-year-old in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because I wrote that book and I had also opened up the world's first, quote unquote modern era sneaker boutique
Mm-hmm.
in 1996, it was called Bobbito's Footwork.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so Dana Albarella, who became the publisher of Testify, met me at my store, bought sneakers from me, knew about the Source magazine article, knew about my sort of like kind of like legendary status already in the 90s for customizing sneakers and
Mm-hmm.
having joints that, just having the respect of everybody in the downtown hip hop and club scene. Um, she was the one who really came up with the idea that I should write a sneaker book. It wasn't on my radar to do one,
Hmm.
because I was like, who's going to read a book about sneakers? I knew
Yeah.
the article could rock. Um,
And resonated.
but I didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
resonated for sure
Yeah.
for years after. But yeah, I didn't know that there could be a book about it. It didn't exist, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, in 2000, she contracted me to write. It took me like 3, 4 years to write, and it came out in 2003.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work, a lot of research.
Yeah.
You know, got to interview all my best friends from my childhood who were sneakerheads,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, along with me. And, the book is approaching its 20th anniversary. It's crazy.
That is
Still in
crazy.
print.
I feel like I was just at
Yeah,
the reading, like the Brooklyn Library. You were there, like I feel like that was just yesterday. Wow, 20
yeah,
years,
yeah,
20
yeah,
years.
yeah. Brooklyn Library. I remember that. I remember that reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the book has been used in uh, higher education,
Mm-hmm.
Carnegie Mellon, Johnson C. Smith University.
Mm-hmm.
A number of it's been like the main text for some college courses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's informed, curators at museums and,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So,
It took on a life of its own, which is incredible.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I have you've done so much. It's like your career. I remember watching the documentary, and this is why I'm bringing it up because I've known you for I don't know 15 plus years at this point,
No,
and I
you've known me
learned.
for 20 years. You've
Have I
known me
known you
for
for
20
20?
years.
Don't age me, V. Don't
It's
age me.
2021. You met me in 2001.
You did.
Own it. Own
Owning
it.
it. Owning it.
It's a beautiful thing, Kathy.
No, it is. It truly.
Own it.
I
I've known you
cherish.
for 20 years and that's dear to me. That's dear
I
to me.
cherish it. I cherish
Yeah.
it. But I
And
learned
we
so
support
much.
e and we support each other. I love you too. I went
Yeah.
to Madison Square Garden and saw
Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil and was like,
Yeah,
oh
you did.
snap,
We
yeah,
have.
and
We have.
I've seen you dance at other parties, not my own, and I've
Yeah.
danced with you and you danced with me at my parties and
Yeah.
nah, you're a fan. You're a fan.
Yeah.
You know?
It's beautiful.
Mm,
But I learned so much about you from your documentary. It was open
mm.
hearted and it was transparent. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, but I know that was not your first documentary because you'd had another one prior to that. So what started
I
on
had
the
I had
journey?
two
Two.
documentaries prior to
Two. Um,
yeah.
what started the journey on the doc films? Like where did that come from? And who? And how?
Yeah, let me say that I need to cook for my son.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer this question, but we're not gonna get out of here without you talking about Stretch
I
Papito
know
because
we're not.
I
We're
mean
not. Go go go.
and the M19s man because I remember your beautiful and gushy email about when you first listened to the album,
Yeah.
but we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have appeared in probably over 50 documentaries over the years.
Hmm.
Some of them have been short films, some of them have been feature length, some of them never got released, some of them were in Denmark and Scandinavia only, and I can't keep track, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Some of them have been huge, like Hip Hop Evolution on
Hmm.
Netflix, which one of the interviews I did was in Toronto when I was up there for Full Court 21.
Right.
Um, so, uh, I'm constantly trying to challenge myself as a freelance creative,
Hmm.
and again, going back to the fill the void, each of my films really approach topics that just weren't ever going to be made into a film. I felt,
Yeah.
pick up basketball. Everybody plays it around the world. It's top three sports. I don't know, swimming, soccer, and then basketball.
Hmm.
Maybe not in that order. I don't know. You know, um, how come someone not have thought to do a documentary about pickup? Particularly in New York, the Mecca.
Yeah.
So it was really that was the premise. I didn't know how to make a doc,
All
but I
right.
surrounded myself with phenomenal teammates and was able to write, produce, and direct my first film. And then that being like sort of my filmmaking 101,
Right.
and
Right.
then moving on to the second film, Stretching Bobbito,
Hmm.
Radio That Changed Lives, which got picked up by Showtime and then
Yeah.
eventually Netflix. And then my last film, Rock Over 45s, I felt was my best film yet because I had two films that I'd made. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, cool. I'm Rock Over 45s. There were scenes that I edited myself,
Yeah.
you know. I wasn't the editor, but I edited certain scenes and I assisted the editor and I sat with him, every single day almost,
Hmm.
you know, piecing that film together. So I'm really proud of my last film.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it's of the three, it's probably the one that's been least viewed.
Mm.
But I feel like it's a testimony to the soul of a human, and it'll find its audience in the long term because people
Absolutely.
will continue to talk about it and word of mouth will spread it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
All right, so we
So,
gotta get
wait, I'm
we got
obsessed. So,
you
people
you
need to
you say
know.
you save the best for the
I
last.
did, of course I did. So, I'm obsessed with the Stretch and Bobbito, the M19 band album. If you don't have it, you should have it. It should be on every available music where you play your music. You should be listening to it because it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Did you? And I know you've produced before, but why now? Why the album? Who was
That's a great
involved that
question. Yeah.
helped you spear that?
Yep. So the title of the album is No Requests. We subsequently released a single titled Que Bonita Bandera, which means my beautiful flag, in December of 2020, and that was for the 125th anniversary of the formation of the Puerto Rican flag.
Mm.
So 2020 was huge for us. We started the year in January releasing the album
Mm-hmm.
and our singles featuring Maimouna Youssef, uh, for I Know You, I Live You, uh, and Grammy nominated, but mind you, Maimouna Youssef, vocalist. And then our other single was The Mexican with Latin Grammy Award winner Mireya Ramos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and uh, and then so we bookend the year, with the album and then the single at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, the pandemic hit. So, some of the Rockable 45s, like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that um, our album No Requests is on the radar of the amount of people who would clearly love it if they heard it,
Yep.
clearly, because I've DJ parties and played joints of the album and seen people on the dance floor lose their shit,
Because they should.
like, holy
Because they should.
shit, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
Um, how I became a producer was, truthfully, Rock Rubber 45s, because I was the writer, director, producer, music supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like co-editor. I mean, I had so many hats, and I was like, oh shit, we need a title track for the film. I should produce it. Here's my golden opportunity. No one can say shit to me. It's my film. It's a film about me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to, get approval from anybody. It's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
so. Luckily, I'm friends with Robert Glasper and friends with Eddie Palmieri. You know,
Just friends.
between yeah, between them,
You
that's
know.
that's 13 Grammy awards, and
Yeah.
both legends already. I mean,
Already.
Eddie's
Well, Eddie's
Eddie's been a
been a
legend since
legend.
the 1950s, but
Yeah.
Robert, he's already a jazz legend.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's a great dude. So I reached out to him and literally heard back within 5 minutes. Now, luckily, I already gotten Eddie Palmieri involved, so it was like, you know, it's like Carmelo Anthony coming to the Lakers. It's like they already got LeBron.
Yeah.
You ain't got to
So.
twist another player's arm to be like, do you want to play with LeBron?
Right.
It's like asking Glasper if you want to be on a track with Eddie Palmieri. It's like what? Come on. Now, what I didn't know was that Glasper loves Latin music and could play it too.
Mm.
Um, so I also collaborated with two songwriters, um, Jay Zone
Mm-hmm.
and his partner in the group called the Do Rights. I'm spacing on his partner's name. Anyway, so I kind of like spelled out what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote it in notes
Mm-hmm.
and chords. They created like a demo form of it, and then we went around and added Mireya Ramos on the violin, and Rob Swift to do scratches
Mm-hmm.
on the chorus. He was DJ for Linkin Park at one point, and he was in the Executioners, and so I had like an all-star cast, top to bottom, really.
Yeah. You were blessed. You had your tribe, and they all came.
And then
They all
did
showed
it
up.
and and master it. Yeah, exactly. Everybody was like, "Yo, come on."
Yeah.
But again, like it's like all goes back to Eddie Palmieri. It's like, you know, he's involved. How you gonna turn it down? So after that record came out, um, Eddie Palmieri's label, Uprising NYC, which is run by Zorlo Torres, hit me up. He was like, "Yo, like you can produce. You clearly can get amazing performances out of artists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you clearly have a vision of how you can blend Latin with funk, jazz, soul,
Mm-hmm.
and other rhythms. Um, why don't you produce an album?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me do it with Stretch." Now, luckily, Zorlo used to take me and Stretch's radio show back in the 90s. So he was like, "Hell yeah,
Another
say
full
no more."
circle. Yeah.
So I was like, "Time out. Let me call up Stretch. Stretch, you want to produce an album with me? Come on." For Eddie Palmieri's label. What? You know? And then
and
from
the
there,
rest
it's
is
like,
history. Yeah.
yeah, we pulled together the best Latin jazz musicians in the city and loosened them up to play funk and Afrobeat and
It's so
samba
good. It's so
and
good.
music that they wouldn't normally play in the Latin
Mm-hmm.
jazz space.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we came up with the album, you know.
And
So look
then
out for more music from me and Stretch. Me and Stretch also host, produce, and DJ a bi-weekly radio show on Apple Music Hits called Stretch and Bobbito Radio.
mm-hmm.
And it can be listened to on demand if you miss it on Saturdays at 8 o'clock Eastern. But Kathy, I love you. I'm
I
feeling
love you.
lightheaded. I got to cook with my son.
Can I ask you
Uh,
one last question before you
have
go?
me talking for an hour.
I
What up?
know. One last question before you go and be a
Yeah.
fantastic father. Who are you making?
Okay.
So the podcast is called Spacemakers, as you know. So
Okay.
who are you making space for now in your life? And then I'll let you
Uh, I First of all, shout out to Spacemakers. My
go.
name is Bobbito Garcia, aka Cool Bob Love. You are now listening to Spacemakers, Spacemakers, Spacemakers. My name is Bobbito Garcia, aka Cool Bob Love. Spacemakers. All right, now you got the promo.
I adore you. It's done.
um, I'm currently making space for myself, and you know, I have a child. Um, I have a lot of responsibilities with him. And um, I, make it a point to write in my journal some mornings, or make it a point to go outside and play ball because that's
Mm.
what brings me joy. Um, make it a point to play music after he's asleep. And just try to find those moments for self. Because when you're a
Mm-hmm.
parent, especially at his development age, where he needs a lot of attention and a lot of care, and you know, um, yeah, it's like you lose yourself. You lose yourself, and uh, I can't parent well if I'm not happy. I'll be a better
Yes.
parent if I'm gratified with my own life. So
Yes.
I make it a point to you know keep myself in check and having space for that. Um, and I've also made space for afterlife too. This year has been a tough one. I've lost I think 35 people at this point in the last 16 months. Yeah, it's a staggering number, right?
Yeah.
And I've really like in my daily affirmations, I've made it a point to be like, I'm grateful for life and I'm grateful for afterlife. Because I don't have to look at at someone passing on as a loss. I
Mm-hmm.
could think of it as that's the natural progression of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have to think like when people think, loss, generally it's like, oh, you lost the game, or
Mm-hmm.
you lost your keys, or you lost your mind, or you
Mm-hmm.
lost your friend. It's generally like a negative connotation. So really try to come out of even though I might even said that a second ago.
I
But
understand.
essentially, it's like I'm trying to like really make space to think positive, and
That's beautiful.
it takes work. It takes work.
It does.
So
Bob, thank you so.
space makers. Yeah, Cappy Pierre. Cap, chick, 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 Cappy Pierre. Cappy Pierre. Space makers. Wit. Gushin. Cappy Pierre. Ah!
Bob, Bobbito Garcia,
I
I
love
love
you.
you so
If I
much.
saw you in real person, I'd give you a big hug right now.
I
All right.
know, and I'll see. I
All
will
right.
see. We will see each other soon. Thank you so much
We
for your
will. We will.
time.
All right. Travel safe, okay?
You
All right.
too.
Mwah.
Bye.
All right.